All right, thanks for joining us, everyone, on our first official Zoom kind of Q&A spotlight, whatever you want to call it, with Josh Allen and Claire from Lewis Central. This is not it's going to be very laid back, and we're going to have fun with this and just kind of want to dive in, and I'll ask Josh some questions. He'll kind of share a little bit about their journey and starting with Class Intercom in the last summer, and then here recently getting Claire involved as a social media intern and sharing that story. And I know a lot of schools are interested in that kind of, I don't know if you want to call it model, but just kind of that format. And having a student solely dedicated to creating social media content and running it through an internship is a great way to do that. So I wanted to highlight that and share with other schools. And I can see we've got lots of people. We've got Jill Johnson now from Seward that just popped on that are interested in this idea. And Heather Callahan at Northwest is also doing this with a larger group of students. But we'll highlight Josh and kick things off. Josh, go ahead and introduce yourselves and Claire, and then I'll kind of start off with a couple of questions.
Yeah, well, my name is Josh Allen, as Taylor said. My official title is Technology Integration Specialist here at Lewis Central. This is my fourth year here. And when I got here, we don't have a communications person. We have about 3,000 students, so we're relatively small. And we didn't have anyone who was doing social media. And so I kind of asked about it, and they said, sure, go ahead. And so I've kind of just done my thing for a few years. And then, as you said, this year, we started with a social media intern, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, who happens to be...
Hi, I'm Claire. I'm just the social media intern.
Not just.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, Claire, what grade you're in, what you're interested in, and how this opportunity kind of came about.
I'm a senior over at Lewis Central High School, and we have an internship class, and I found this internship through the internship class, and I've just been coming up here and doing the social media stuff.
So Josh, I want you to dive deeper into that, not just an internship class, but how the conversations behind the scenes, and then Claire kind of coming into this role, how that story.
Yeah, well, last year we actually had our journalism teacher and a business teacher who was running the internship program both retired at the same time. And we initially purchased Class Intercom as a way to get journalism students to be able to post to our social media feeds. And then during a meeting I had with Cheryl Casey, who took over the internship program, I just happened to mention, hey, we bought this Class Intercom thing. We're pretty excited about it. We don't know all that it can do, but this is kind of what we're doing with it now. And she said, well, have you ever thought about doing a social media intern? And I said, I didn't even know we offered that class. So we kind of put something together in a few short weeks. And we're lucky enough to have Claire accept it and help us jump in. And for me, it's been just a great opportunity. I've kind of just done the social media thing for a long time and never really had to explain what I was doing or, think out loud, put things down. And so now having to kind of have someone be a sounding board for ideas, new ideas, critiquing older ideas, has really been great for me. And I think you can definitely see, more posts, more original content being posted to our social media thanks to the work that Claire does.
And more emojis, which is always great.
Yeah, the emoji use at Lewis Central has skyrocketed, and that is directly tied to Claire.
Awesome. And we'll pull up a screenshot of your latest. You've got the varsity wrestling duel, but Claire, why don't you tell us a little bit about what all you're involved in, what, you're a senior, what you want to do next, which I thought was kind of fascinating. You don't really want to go into social media, but you're pretty good at it and could be used for your career.
Yeah, I'm not involved in a ton right now just because I'm kind of like in between seasons of stuff. But next year I'm going to be going to ISU for architectural engineering. So it's not really related to social media all that much, but I could use it further when I join a company or something like that.
Absolutely. Josh, I want you to touch on kind of before Claire and now after Claire, and you kind of did a little bit, what does it look like during the week for you guys and the time that she has dedicated to doing this, which I think is key?
Yes, I really, in a perfect world, I would love to have a new post to Instagram every day, because Instagram goes to our Facebook and Twitter. And really, when I started doing tech integration, this wasn't even part of the job description. So anything that I've done has kind of been just squeezed it into my already existing job duties. And so now that we have a social media intern, Claire and I've talked a couple times about, after school events, and I've said really anything that she attends is more than what was happening before, because I wasn't posting a lot from after school activities. So anything that we can do is kind of above and beyond what was happening before. Really, the big thing for us with Class Intercom, with the journalism students, and now with the social media intern is creating original district content. And it's just been fantastic to have that. A lot of what I was posting was when I was at breakfast, sitting at my kitchen table, grabbing links from teachers and the newspaper and everything else. And so anything that we have now that is created, that is original, is definitely better for our social media presence.
Awesome. And Claire, what does your week look like? And you're at the high school, but Josh at the district office. Talk a little about logistics and communicating with him on, what you should be posting about. It seems like you guys have really gotten a flow of things now compared to when I talked to you in December even.
Yeah, since I finish my classes at the high school and then I come up here at the district building at around 1 o'clock, and I'll stay to almost 3 o'clock. Wow. And I'll just create new posts, and I've gotten kind of into the habit of putting at least sports posts, scheduling them ahead of time, like far in advance, so that we have something up. And then if I have extra time, I'll go around to other schools and I'll take pictures of events that are going on. I'll email other teachers and see what's going on at their schools. And I'll email Josh, or we'll have meetings and talk about all the stuff that's going on.
And it was kind of cool. The day I was there in December, you were trying to decide, should I go to this event next week or that event? And Josh didn't even know who the senator was that was coming, because he's from Nebraska, even though he teaches in Iowa. But that's a side note. And I thought that was really neat that you were proactive in kind of looking at the schedule, what was going on. And I think that's the key to your guys' whole program, is that you're getting that much time where that's your focus, right? And I do want you to touch on too, because I know, Josh, you told me that this internship class isn't a year-long program, right? So maybe touch on that a little bit.
So we actually operate on trimester schedule. Yeah. And so in theory, we could have a new social media intern every trimester. Probably the best Christmas present I got was Claire telling me that she was planning on signing up for trimester 3 as well. So great. There will be, some continuity moving forward. I think I saw in the chat, I don't know if I'm going to answer Jill's question exactly, but
yep.
We have 3 internship students right now. Claire is one. We have one that's at an accounting firm doing actual accounting work. We have another that is at the Joslin Museum. And he or she is doing afternoon classes with homeschool students that come. So the internship class isn't really like you're going to go out and do this. It's kind of a give and take of, here's some ideas we have. Where do you want to go? Like, what are you interested in and learning more about? I believe we have about 8 students signed up for next trimester. I don't know how many of those are for social media at this time, other than hopefully Claire. Hopefully I don't ruin it here in the next month, but that's kind of where we sit right now.
Yeah, and I think she's wondering, do you have more than just Claire involved, which you do have. Talk about when I came and kind of talked to your book and journalism classes, how they're kind of helping you now with photos and stuff like that. And Claire, you can touch on that too.
Yeah, as I mentioned, we switched, or we had a journalism teacher retire and a new one come on board. And we're really trying to encourage kids to take what they're doing and share it with us so that we can have an outlet for some of what they're not using. The day we were there, Maddie Seek, who's our journalism advisor, her point was, we ask you to take 1,000 pictures, and how many of them do you really use in a yearbook? I mean, no more than 20. So what are you going to do with the rest of them? And one of the students says, well, maybe we should create a Twitter account where we can dump all of that stuff. And I said, well, use that. I got it. I got one. Send them on over. So we had a conversation with Bryce Griffin, who's another senior, who is just a phenomenal photographer. And as we walked in actually for that hour, he's there scrolling through some of his pictures. And, I begged him and I said, hey, you can keep whatever you want, but stuff that you're not going to use, send it over, somehow get it to us. We want to be able to highlight what you're doing. I said, what you're doing is better than anything I'm going to be able to create, with my phone. We haven't invested in the equipment, from a district communications perspective. So, Bryce, the next day he had a Google Drive folder set up for us that he will put pictures in. And, as Claire mentioned, she's been creating some content for any home game. She creates a picture just in Canva with some of what Bryce has taken. We tag him, share that, and that's been another benefit. So I think we're kind of at that point where we're yep, there's an example right there. You can see, so that the downside of not necessarily Class Intercom, but anything that makes posts to multiple places is that's not his Twitter handle, but it's his Instagram one.
Oh yeah, yep.
Good. I mean, that's one of the things that Claire does a good job of. It includes his name, so you still know who it is, and so yep, that's one example there.
Cool. Yeah. So Claire, why don't you talk about these posts? This isn't something that, and I'll leave this up here for a little bit, and you guys can go follow Lewis Central CSD. And then we do have a question from Cassie down at Phoenix Christian we'll get to here in just a second. But take us through this and using emojis, tagging, and this has kind of been your project in making sure you're getting stuff out about events beforehand, which is what we encourage a lot of schools to do. It's great content, and it forms your community of what's happening at the school.
Yeah, anytime I go on the high school calendar and I go to look through varsity games, and I'll just kind of make a list. Any home games that we have, I'll go into the folder that Bryce has shared with me, and I'll find pictures that are relevant to that sport, and I'll make a post on Canva about it that's formatted to the right size for Instagram. So when we share it through Instagram, it goes to the Twitter and the Facebook as well. And I'll just create the emoji tweet to go out with it. And I do the emoji tweets for most of the sports events, or all the ones that I see at least. The format I got from that was Josh showed me some examples from other schools and from other sports teams that were doing it. So I made it so that our school could do it as well.
So stop right there. So this is a conversation that Claire and I had. This is an improvement. So that one there, we talked about as we start using more of Bryce's stuff, that's not as readable as the one above.
Right.
If you go back up, you notice, we're definitely still a work in progress, getting some of that stuff done. And go back up to the next one. I want to talk about the one above there too. This is Claire's baby as well.
This profile pic one.
Yeah. So we were talking, we just released Snapchat not really released it. I've had it for a while, never really used it. And turned it over to Claire after the first of the year. And so we were talking about how we share that. And the post she had created for Instagram that was in Class Intercom said something about, and be sure to go follow us on all of our other sites. And I said, well, that's a little bit more information than I want in one post. I just wanted to focus on Snapchat. But then we got the idea to make profile pictures for our social media that includes the other ones. So if you notice this one has Facebook, Flipboard, Instagram, and Snapchat, but it doesn't have Twitter because you're on Twitter.
Yeah.
If you go into
Yeah, let me stop sharing and I'll pull up your guys' Instagram and everything else.
Yeah, Instagram has everything. It doesn't have the Instagram one, but it has Twitter in there. So we're in the process now that we've really embraced Snapchat more to kind of start getting that message out so that we can get some more followers on there too.
And why don't you share, Claire, while I'm pulling that up, a little bit about how Snapchat's going, because I know a couple schools on here are, and then we've got a ton of questions, so we'll move to that.
With the Snapchat, the first couple of things that I did with it were like sharing. We had a graduation panel that came in, so I shared a couple Snapchats from that, and then I went to some of the after-school activities like radio club and short film. And our short film team always does really well, but since they focus on the film, we don't get to see the kids in the process often. So I went and I just took a couple videos of what they were doing and put those on Snapchat. And tomorrow we have 2 home games, and so I'm going to go to those and I'm going to do a couple Snapchats from those so that there's interaction and everything while the games are going on.
I think that's perfect, especially with you being the intern, that there's the trust level there, which is the main issue with Snapchat, right?
Yes, because that does not go through class intercom. Yeah. So, I definitely will not say that all of our social media interns of the future will be able to use Snapchat. Right. But it was funny when I first emailed out our entire staff and said, hey, this is Claire. She's going to be our social media intern. Just be aware she'll be around. I had our first grade teacher email me back and say just how wonderful Claire was. And she was so excited. And so she's got glowing reviews from all of our teachers. So it was when I suggested to a couple of them that we may turn her loose with Snapchat, there was definitely no hesitation in their voices. So that put my mind at ease a little bit.
Yeah, that's huge. All right, so we'll go to the questions for Claire from Cassie at Phoenix Christian. What have you learned through the social media internship so far, and has anything surprised you?
I've learned a lot in like how to format the tweets and everything, and how to make like a concise statement that conveys what we need it to convey. But also some of the tools that we've been using like Canva and stuff. It's been kind of fun to learn how to use that and how to create certain posts of that. And I've learned a lot about our school district and how things run and how activities go on and all the different things I didn't know that happened, because I've learned that there's a lot going on constantly at our schools. So that's been kind of fun to just explore and watch.
It's a full-time job. That's great. All right, we'll go to Tim had a question. I think we kind of answered, Josh, I don't know if you can read that. Have you thought about expanding the interdisciplinary side of this? Any graphic art students with editing pictures and creating posts, graphics to post?
Yeah, right now what we've done is we've encouraged our journalism and yearbook students to share. We are in discussions of creating some sort of digital media broadcast class. I don't know if we'll be able to pull that off before next year. I would love to, Heather and I have talked a lot about this, and, she has I think 5 or 6 people or 5 or 6 interns, and they kind of divide stuff up. And I think it was on one of your class intercom podcasts. Is it Bonnie Knoll who's at Georgia?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was talking about, they have different groups and people assigned to different things. And I'd love to get to that point, whether that's through a digital media class or through the interns. But, you got to have the people. And, right now, kind of our main focus has been the events. I don't know if it will always be the events because I think, as Claire said, that does take up a lot of time. It takes up a lot of space on our social media as well. So, there's some things that I've seen, Claire mentioned like the emoji stuff. We completely stole that from other schools that are doing that, even colleges. And
yep.
So we may change that. UNL, I was looking the other day and they put like one page, one sheet in Instagram that has a list of things going on Monday. And they put that as an Instagram story. Yeah. So does maybe that make more sense where we can also put it in Snapchat? So, that's the thing that I like about having the interns is, and which, to back to Tim's question, if we would have other students that would do this, is just to get more ideas and figure out, an efficient way to do everything, but being complete in our communication.
Absolutely. And I'm going to get to Jill's question, but before that, I'm going to just discovered this yesterday and wanted to share with everyone. When you now post something to Instagram from Class Intercom, which is, not going to lie, it's kind of a pain. There's an extra step there that you have to take. This is now the first window that popped up for me, at least for a photo. So it's now asking you, do you want to post this to your story or to your feed? And so I did this today with Class Intercom with something from a podcast with Craig, and I created a 1080 by 1920 graphic. And instead of putting it on my feed, I went to the story. Then I tagged him and added some text on top of that. So you can now use Class Intercom to post to your story if you'd like. Now it would just be individual frames. And I have not tested video yet for this, but that's something new that we just discovered. So to help you, so if you have a pre-made graphic from Canva, you could load that into Class Intercom, or the kids could, and then you could post those to your story. So.
Yep, I've seen that as well. I haven't used story yet for that, but
cool.
It's there.
Yeah, I think that could be nice to be able to have content there. Speaking of Instagram, and that's why I wanted to show that, Jill asked, they don't currently have Instagram at Seward, but they have a very strong presence on Facebook and Twitter. Would you recommend using Instagram, and what advantage does this provide a school district?
Well, first of all, shout out to my high school speech teacher, Jill Johnson. I don't know that it necessarily provides any advantage. When I started the social media, I just did all three: Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram all at the same time. We actually use If This Then That to share Instagram to Facebook and Twitter. So anytime we post to Instagram, it automatically posts to the other two. So that's why a lot of the pictures that Claire does, that's just kind of their starting point. So it doesn't necessarily give us an advantage, but it makes life easier for me to just post to one place, and then it populates the other two.
Cool. All right. No more questions on that. So let's talk about the scheduling and how you guys have used that, and then just kind of final thoughts. We'll wrap things up and let anybody ask any other questions, but just wanted to kind of highlight what you guys are doing. It's very unique. And it's pretty great to have someone that has basically a whole afternoon to create social content. We realize that's not probably possible at every school, but if you guys are doing it, there's ways to kind of, I don't know if you want to say hack that. If you don't have an internship class, maybe it's a senior seminar, study hall, those types of things, and with a larger group of students too. But final thoughts, scheduling, and kind of where you see kind of the next to the end of the school year using Class Intercom, Josh.
Scheduling, we typically don't do more than 3 original content posts a day. If we have that many, we'll do one early in the morning, one about lunchtime, and one early afternoonish. We kind of spread it out. There was an article I was reading about a little bit before Claire started that talked about less can be more, especially on Facebook. And Facebook is ever changing, but that's kind of, we're still trying to spread things out a little bit. It doesn't mean we don't retweet as often. We're still doing that all the time, but it's things that are originally created. We try not to do more than 3 or so a day. It doesn't always work because some things are timely. Like for example, today, it's Winnie the Pooh Day, according to Claire and someone else I saw on Twitter. So, that obviously can't be done any other day but today. So sometimes you got to squeeze more in, but we try to spread it out and try not to overload things.
And that's awesome right there. I mean, that's the type of stuff, Claire, when you first started, you probably wouldn't have done, but now you got more comfortable, you feel okay with doing that, and you tied it back. Looks like, that's educational, right? Use the hashtag reading, and put that on Facebook. That's fantastic. We've been really emphasizing that with schools, trying just to get started with picking out different themes like that. Throwback Thursday, scheduling events is easy to kind of get going, and then you can start to have fun, right? That's what social media is all about.
And I think, if you look at the future, every trimester is going to depend on how many people we have. If we have 3 or 4, we can have someone that makes sure we have all the events ready, creating content like this. I don't mind having those, days on there, like Winnie the Pooh. What's some of the other ones?
Brothers Day and Dewey Decimal System.
Right, Brothers Day and Dewey Decimal Day.
There you go.
Stuff like that, is fine. I think it's fun to be able to interact with the public and show a little bit of personality. But you also have to be able to make sure that you have enough people to do all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And, one of the things that we talked about, you have the girls basketball game pulled up here.
Yep.
That may be something that goes away in the future, because part of the problem with doing that is if you're going to do it for one, you better do it for all of them.
Yeah.
And parents and students are going to, if you, even if you accidentally leave somebody out, they're going to know and they're going to find it. And so you have to be deliberate and make sure that you get everything. So. Yeah,
which is a good thing and a bad thing, right?
It is. Well, you should. I'm not saying that you shouldn't, but it's easy to miss something. Luckily, we have a calendar that's full of activities, but today or tomorrow we have wrestling, bowling, girls and boys basketball all going on at the same time.
Yep.
So that calendar is pretty crowded, and it's pretty easy to miss something. So if we had a music program or something else going on, we just have to be careful and making sure that we have everything.
Yeah, the bar has been raised now with this type of content. Last thing, and then I see a question. Talk about the labels. Really want to encourage schools using that. Has that been helpful, and you'll be able to filter that, or have you dived into that yet?
I think that's one of the things we're going to be diving into. One of the things that I said when Claire started is we just need to make sure that we're consistent and spread things evenly out. It can't just be all about the high school and their activities. It can't just be about sports. It can't just be about elementary kids because it's easier to get in there. We got to make sure that we're hitting each building. So that's one way that we can do that. We have each building in there. We have athletics, academics, school board, fine arts, all that stuff's in there. And then we added in intern and then obviously Claire's last name so that, if we want to, hopefully we can go in and, be able to pull that up. So if Claire did want to use this for, something, after she leaves high school and, I get a call from someone and they say, did she really post all this stuff that she says she does? I can pull it up and say, yeah, here it is. Here's everything that has Claire's name on it. And so I'm kind of excited about that, to see who's doing the work and what it looks like.
Yeah. So for those of you that don't know, you can go to the list view here. And if you have a bunch of filters, you can filter. So now I can see, Claire, that's your last name, right? Sorry to expose that. That's where my sister went to college, Tabor College. So I just want to make sure. It also says your name here, but this is a list of all of her posts that she's authored since January 11. So she can go through and see what's approved, that's ready to go out, what's been published, and canceled, denied, anything like that. So it's kind of nice to see all the other tags. You guys have been. That's amazing to see the consistency with the labels. So that can come in really handy, like you said, Josh.
Well, that was, one of the other things that we talked about with this position is Claire said, well, I'm technically supposed to be here 1 to 3, Tuesday through Friday. And I said, well, I don't, she goes, where do you want me to work? And I said, I don't really care. I don't care if you're working at Starbucks. I can see when you're working because I have that stuff in Class Intercom. And I can go back and I can say, okay, this is everything that, Claire did. I know that she's working. It's about content. One of the other things going forward, this kind of came together all in a couple weeks. And so I'm taking some of this stuff and I'm working on a social media intern guideline for, future people so that it can be a common message for future interns. I can just hand that to them and say, okay, here's some of the things that we expect. One of the things I just started working on it today. And one of the things is, you're not publishing to your personal account anymore. You're publishing to a taxpayer-funded K-12 public education district account. So, there's some expectations for correct grammar and words spelled correctly and positivity. So, just kind of getting all that stuff down on paper so that when someone comes in, it's almost like a syllabus. Like, this is what we expect out of you. I don't care where you work, but you need to make sure that you're working.
Awesome. Jill wants to know if you're willing to share your application process form. I'm assuming that's for the internship, Jill, that you're wanting that. I'm sure Josh would be open to sharing that.
I'll leave myself a note and get it.
Okay. And then John on our team asked, which I was thinking too, have you seen any kind of changes or impact on engagement or people sharing more stuff, likes, retweets, sharing posts on Facebook, or nothing really abnormal?
I don't have necessarily the data. I would say Snapchat is one, obviously, that has been increased. And I would say Twitter and Instagram, I've noticed an increased amount of followers on a more regular basis.
Okay.
Facebook, not so much. Facebook, we get new followers when we have snow days, is really what it comes down to. But definitely Twitter and Instagram, since we've been posting more often, more consistently, emojis probably has something to do with it.
Absolutely.
More emojis, so you have more followers. But yeah, those are the two big places.
I'm just typing that out so we don't forget that.
Emojis make new followers.
Yep, we're gonna put that on Twitter, and I'm gonna get a big picture of Josh, and that will be
it's your new class intercom slogan.
Yes, more emojis equals more followers. Just ask Josh Allen. All right, so we will kind of wrap things up. Thank you guys for taking time here in the afternoon. Thank you, Josh and Claire. We're gonna try to get some video of you guys talking about this program as well, so we could share this with people across the country that are using Class Intercom. So thank you guys for taking on, I don't know if you call it a risk, but just kind of something new territory for both of you, and to do something exciting and being pioneers here in the social media kind of age of schools taking this on and using Class Intercom. So thank you guys.
Well, thank you. It's been fabulous to have that, and I don't know that we would have gone down this road if it was not for Class Intercom and some of the processes that are set up there. So thank you.
Yeah. Claire, last thing, any advice to students that are looking to maybe kind of get into this? I know that's our job is to help schools with which students are kind of not built, but characteristics or things like that. What advice do you have to students that may be involved in Class Intercom at their school?
If you have any questions about like what you want to post or any ideas, just talk to whoever's your like supervisor and just to kind of ask them, because if it's a bad idea, they're going to say no. But if not, they're going to let you post it, and you can see how things work out, and you can try new stuff and just ask questions and see what can and can't go on.
Right. Yeah. You have that safety net. Josh, have you hit deny on her posts? Have you hit deny or just edit?
I don't think I've ever denied one. I said there's a few things that you need to change, but it mostly revolves around spelling and grammar and not intent or content. But just for future reference, I did put that in the handbook / guideline thing I'm working on, that it does need to be positive. You are the school district. You're doing this, you're removing yourself from you being a high school student, and you're a school district. So there are certain expectations that we have to put it out to the public. But I have not censored Claire for anything like that.
That's good. That's good. All right. Don't forget, more emojis equals more followers. I'm Taylor Sieber with Class Intercom. Thank you, Josh and Claire. And thank you all who are watching the recording. Let us know if you got any questions.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.